Hey all. So, unfortunately, I do not have the video for War 7 for you today. I thought that I had been staying on top of clearing space on my iPad. Apparently, I was wrong about how much it needed. And out of the 15 minutes that I recorded, including some duels that I was going to look over and see if they, provided any teaching material, I have the last 1 minute, which is a single fight, which I will go ahead and include at the end of this because it's some cool rank 4 Tigra action. But since everything else is gone, and all I can do is tell you that I had a very cool Tigra versus rank 4 Nimrod on node 53, the Stunning Reflection mini boss fight. It went very well. I didn't die. Since all I can do is tell you that that's there, I figured that today I would go over the items like I mentioned in War 6 and talk about where I'm sitting at the halfway point of this season. I am using the spreadsheet designed by my officer Campo, which I will link in the description. He has a great video going over this spreadsheet and why he's tracking this data. I have made one small adjustment at the bottom of my spreadsheet to also keep track of how many fights I've taken this season and specifically how many fights I'm taking per war on average, as that is a relatively important statistic to decide whether the season I'm taking is representative. Should Kabam balance around this, or am I being unreasonable one way or another? I want to talk about these itemized loyalty expenses real quick. First off, you can see I have down 100 tickets for AQ. Yes, you can buy these with other means. You can buy them with units, gold, battle chips, flat out money. I am making a point to buy 50 of them a week, specifically with loyalty, because when Kabam released Map 8 and released this ticket system, they told us that they had designed it so that the most efficient way to buy entry to it was with an even split of resources, of gold, battle chips, and loyalty. So to me, that means that whatever the loyalty economy arrives at, it should take into account using some loyalty on AQ. So I'm making sure to put that in. I'm not counting all of my loyalty power back boosts. 150s here means the 150% power back boosts. I'm not counting all of them separately, but this was for Mystic 150s, which I was out of at the start of the season. So I'm putting that top up separately from the ones that I'm just using as I go. And then I'm also including loyalty crystals per day. I think this is actually up to probably about 24,000 now. I need to update that. But I buy those as a way of getting health boosts specifically, because you tend to get attack boosts from the solo objectives, but health boosts are a little scarcer, but still important. So the fact that that is also a loyalty cost, I think, needs to be taken into account as well. So for the first 6 wars, you can see my total fights 5, 8, 4, 7, 5, 8. I actually added some spots down here. It's an average of 6.16, sixth and a sixth fights per war, which is above average. Technically, the fight average should be, quote unquote, 5 per person, but 6 is not unreasonable. Like, that is very close to average, and that's just like, okay, my champions that I was bringing lined up for a few more mini bosses. That's fine. And it's not like I'm hogging fights. You can see I have this one war where I only took 4. So I don't think that this is going to be unreasonable at all. We see a few top-ups with the old potions that they've actually gotten rid of. That tells you how important those were at staying topped up. And only a few of the level 5 ones. This yellow background, by the way, is just me taking note of. This is the only potion I've used all season that I feel like was a direct result of input issues. Even this war, where I mentioned getting hit because of input issues, funnily enough, every one of those was on the last fight I took with that character. And so I didn't need to heal them back up. So Keep in mind, compensation is designed to compensate for the input issues. So when they remove the compensation, the underlying economy should account for the items I'm using other than the ones I need for input issues. So that means that all of these, except this one potion, are normal wear and tear. And it's still pretty significant. You can see that the loyalty cost for this last war against Matrix was almost 100,000 in a single war. And then when we take into account the boosts, which are also very important, this one wasn't an input issue. That was just the regen boost I used on a heal block node, so I'm ultimately going to take that out of my own accounting because that's not Kabam's fault that I did something stupid. But otherwise, you can see I don't use that many power back boosts, but I do use them. And I don't think that this is all that unreasonable for most of these. War 4 was an outlier, right? Because that's 3 full sets. That's like twice in one class and one on another class. Most of these others are, okay, I did it once for each of 2 classes. I don't think that's at all unreasonable. And then I'm averaging about 2 gray boosts per war. I'm not entirely sure where that economy is, quote, supposed to be, but 2 gray boosts per war feels very reasonable to me. If they want us to use fewer of these, then I think they might need to make some changes to that whole thing. But anyway, the point I'm making here is that this is overall a pretty modest first half of the season, and it should be stressed, a deathless first half of the season. So I haven't had to heal to full at all. And my total cost is almost 600,000. Now, if we take out the 2 items that I didn't necessarily need, then maybe we're looking at more along the lines of like 520,000. But if we double that, if we assume the back half of the season is exactly the same as the first half, then we're looking at about 1 million loyalty. Last I heard, the calculations for Kabam in Tier 1 were giving everyone about 900,000 loyalty. Meaning that based on my experience alone, which is admittedly fairly limited, they're falling short by about 10% of a modest 6 fight per war deathless season. That's not a lot of margin for error. So hopefully that leads them to take some things a little bit differently in the future. I know a lot of other people are tracking their loyalty. If you are not at the moment, might consider doing it for the last half of the war because that would still be valuable data. And we'll see where we are on the next break. So here's the one fight that did make it through from this last war against SAS. Pretty standard Tigra fight. Thankfully, things worked out so that both this and the rank 4 Nimrod I took immediately before it, actually all of my fights today were after the global went down. So the Kingpin I took on Spite with Killmonger, the Nimrod, this Hulkbuster, none of them had unstoppable armor active. It just happened to line up that way and made my war that much easier. The Nimrod fight looked kind of like this, but longer and with a more, fancy special counter. It went very well. The one fight that I would do differently next time is I used Killmonger on Ebony Maw on 33, Aspect of Evolution, because I didn't want to take the degen with Tigra, and I was trying to avoid healing. I did solo, but it was a scary enough fight that next time I'm just going to use the health potion and use Tigra. Like, Killmonger does have Defiance, so he didn't get degened. I didn't have to deal with Mystic Dispersion. But his AI did not cooperate, and there was a point where I almost said out loud in that fight, I'm not dying here. which is not something that you should need to actively think. So I will definitely be doing that one differently next time. And then for the war overall, we did end up losing this one. Unfortunately, we died 6 times, as did they, and we were ahead on time, but we had an unfortunate circumstance where one of our members was on vacation and was a little bit less than at 100%, turned off their phone, and missed placement by about 10 minutes. It does happen, you know. People do have other lives. Definitely unfortunate. Not a fun way to lose a war. But we are not out of the race for Masters yet. I think it's fair to say top 3 isn't happening this season. But, we'll just keep coming back. 6 deaths is not embarrassing. Our fight time was solid. We are trending positive. I know I've been saying that. It feels like, okay, well, if you're trending positive, why are you still losing? Maybe we haven't been trending positive quite quickly enough, but I do think we're going to get there. So, on to the last 5 wars. Good luck to the rest of you. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.